Welcome back. Now, while there was a growing expectation last week that the care referendum might be defeated, the rejection of the referendum on family, which would have broadened the types of families given constitutional protection, that came as more of a shock in political circles. And I want to go to my audience now and find out why people did vote as they did last weekend. Yeah, and we have yourself. What way did you vote?
Voted no for both. And I can understand why the rhetoric now was an angry no. Because frankly, I didn't come into this with any particular view, but I was always raised to think the Constitution is the bedrock. It trumps legislation, trumps everything else. So I came into it with an open mind. And I read it and I didn't understand it. Strive, taking mother, I just didn't understand it. And I thought it was me. I thought maybe I'm lacking something, I don't know. And then I saw this AG leak. And guess what? That was what he was saying also. So I kind of felt fooled. I kind of felt uncommunicated. The only thing I saw was an online newspaper which strove to explain it in 500 words. And I found that actually more beneficial than all of the rest that I'd heard. And I'd have to say my vote was a conservative no. No, I'm not going to make changes if I don't understand it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay. Is my simplistic way to look at it. But I felt very spoken down to, and I felt very kind of uncommunicated, and most people I know would feel the same. Okay, we'll come to that when we get back to the panel. Yes, just 1 second. Yourself.
I thought the whole thing was very confusing. I voted no to both of them, but you know, as the minister said there, you know, the whole thing was pitted at each other. I mean, it couldn't be more Irish than it was to coin a phrase. We were taking the word mother out of the Constitution on International Women's Day. Now, who in the government, were they high that day they decided to do that? And then 2 days before Mothering Sunday. So, you know, if that's not Irish, you know, I don't know what is. But it was, to me, it was all bamboozled. It's pitted people against each other. You know, it's almost as if we're not caring for the people that need to be cared for. So, and a complete and utter waste of 23 million. OK. Do I have any yes voters in the room? Yes, you do.
Yeah, I voted.
This is on family. Yeah,
on family. Yeah, I voted yes. Though, just so you know, I'm a single parent. I grew up in a one-parent family as well, so that's why I was voting that way. But I was devastated.
George, I'm remembering you now. You were with us the night of our referendum, and you were telling us you were voting yes that night. And you were actually a bit of a poster girl maybe for that campaign, because you did appear in a video for the National Women's Council.
Yeah, I did, and I can relate to what Sinead was saying about getting attacked. I had a member of the Oireachtas actually spearhead online abuse that I got. I feel like everybody throws around the word activist. Like that you're somehow affiliated or there's some sort of corruption there, but the reality is I'm a single parent. I am also a carer to my little girl who has complex needs. All my activism came out of my advocacy, and that's why I was voting from a personal standpoint. I agree with what this man over here said as well about the Constitution being the bedrock of our whole state, and that's really important as well, and I think that's what made it harder for people to understand what was happening or to see the implications of what was happening, because that's for the courts. The courts will be the ones, and it needs to be generic because you can't be that specific in a document that we hope will last generations.
So you were very disappointed on Saturday?
Yeah, I was gutted, especially on Mother's Day. It was not great.
I'm just going to get a voice we haven't had in before. Yes, yourself.
Hi, Katie. I voted yes and yes on the family amendment. I'm a single parent. Solidarity. I was absolutely devastated. I was gutted. I had to wake my 14-year-old daughter up and tell her that she still has duties in the home, but her brother doesn't have duties. I think if we look back historically in Ireland, we locked mothers away in mother and baby homes. We repealed the 8th Amendment. We said marriage equality, now is the time for everybody to be equal. But you know what? No, women. No, you still have duties in the home. And I know people don't really see that as that, or people say, I don't care, you know, oh, it's only in the Constitution. That matters to me because it's important.
The duties, that's the care side of the referendum. On the family referendum, did you feel as strongly about that?
Yes. I felt strongly for the almost 1 million people in this country that come from a non-marital family. You know, the definition, family should never come down to your marital status. And that's something that we, you know, have to keep in mind. And when I mean devastated like that lady, there are so many women that have been campaigning for years and are going to keep campaigning. And when we saw that as a defeat, it was a smack in the face for women that have gone out and tried to be active in every other campaign, whereas we've had other people involved. I didn't see them out when Aisling Murphy died. I didn't see them out against gender-based violence. I didn't see them out about lone parents when there was cuts made.
OK, thank you for that. And I'll go to yourself now. And you were with us as well.
Yeah, I was. I'm a no voter, proud no voter. Why I voted no to the family referendum is because durable relationship, it wasn't defined. What does it open the door to? You know, I think families in Ireland, especially modern day Ireland, they come in all shapes and sizes. And, you know, especially even with the O'Mara case that recently went through the courts, an unmarried father won his widower's pension because he had a durable relationship with the mother of his children. But just that word durable, it wasn't defined, it wasn't explained, it was too messy. So that was why I was no.
OK. Yes, yourself, very quickly.
Yeah, on the Constitution, which is sacrosanct, it shouldn't be used as a political football or to gain political advantage, in my opinion. And if you're going to change any article in the Constitution, if you're either going to take it out or replace the wording of it, it has to have a dividend for the citizens in this republic. And I couldn't see any dividend whatsoever in any of the two of them. And that's why I voted no.
OK. I'm going to bring this back to Peadar Tobin now. Like we heard there, single parents devastated that they woke up on Saturday to hear that they were still not recognised under the Constitution.
It's really important for people to understand this was not a no to single parents or to cohabiting couples. This was a no to government incompetence. And many people would have liked to see the Constitution actually updated to actually represent different family structures. But the problem is the government used a phrase that had no definition at all. And this is like, you know, and it's really interesting that you made a point, sir, in relation to the Attorney General's advice. And, you know, amazingly, we had the murky leaking of the Attorney General's advice the day before the referendum. And that advice basically said that there was no surety that the judges and the courts would be able to clearly define exactly what durable relationships mean. There's no certainty in relation to that. And he actually said it would increase the level of litigation that would happen. And I think that's phenomenal because right through the whole campaign, we had ministers in the Dáil and on the media basically say quite the opposite. And these were ministers who had received that advice themselves. Not only did they disregard that advice, but they contradicted the advice that the citizens have paid through the taxpayers to pay for the Attorney General's office in the first place. I believe that those ministers misled the Irish people in relation to that. And I do think there's questions to be answered on this.
You've called for Roderick O'Gorman's head on this.
I have. In a very clear statement, Roderick O'Gorman was asked the question, had he received any information from the Attorney General which showed that there was confusion over the definition and that there would be further litigation. And he said, no, he didn't receive that. He said he received the opposite information from senior advice to the government. And I think the Constitution is so important that misleading the people in front of a Constitution referendum is wrong. OK, I
just have to say, of course, Roderick O'Gorman absolutely rejects that assertion.
I think it's a pity that Roderick is not here.
We put it to him again today. And he pointed to parts of that, what he stated, that were also in that advice. And he said it's extremely disappointed that partial advice from the Attorney General was leaked in this manner. The Attorney General provided a number of pieces of advice on the proposed wording to government while the constitutional amendments were being drafted. So he's saying there that that wasn't the totality of the advice that they were relying upon.
He refused, though, because he was FOI'd and asked to give the totality advice to the people before the referendum. And he said no. So he actually rathered that the people did not see that advice in advance. And then when questioned on it, it's in the Irish Independent. It's in a number of different sources. He contradicted the advice that he was given.
Billy Keller, do you want to respond to that? Because it's a very serious matter.
It is, yeah. I think
and a lot of people, like this gentleman, read that advice a day before they went to the polls and saw in black and white that there was a question mark over how the courts might interpret the definition of durable relationship?
And I've nothing scientific on it, but if you look at the online commentary around the time that advice came out, it certainly was a significant issue in that particular referendum on family. I mean, from my own perspective, I always believe that the advice should be published. I mean, if a government is putting forward a proposal, the entirety of the advice should be published. It should be part of this pre-legislative scrutiny so that everybody can assess, at the end of the day, what the legal advisor is giving to the government should be part of frame of a debate.
Your colleague Lisa Chambers said she read that advice and it tipped her into the no camp, basically. She voted no on family and on care the day.
Yeah, and a lot of people, certainly a lot of people changed their mind on that particular issue.
Do you think that was a crucial...
I certainly think that was a tipping point from the point of view of the family one. There's no doubt about that. An awful lot of people bolted when they felt that there was something not being published that was untoward, that was being hidden. Now, I don't believe that it was. It was partial advice was published. We want to see the entirety of the advice. I think that would be better. But
what accountability will there be for Roger Gorman in relation to misleading the people?
But Peadar, like in fairness now...
Will there be any accountability?
Peadar, governments normally do not publish the advice when it comes to referenda. The point I'm making is it should be part of it. But there's no obligation on them to do that.
There will be a two-year departmental investigation into why this happened, and after that it'll be published when everybody's moved on and everybody's forgotten about it. There will be no accountability in this.
That's an inquiry into the leak. The more fundamental issues
is it misleading?
Should the advice of an Attorney General to a government be part of the pre-legislative scrutiny? I believe it should.
Do you expect us to ever find out who was responsible for that leak?
Well, in time-honoured tradition, being around the place a long time, it is seldom that the leaker is found, unfortunately.
Louise Bayliss, how did you feel having campaigned for a yes?
Very disappointed and very disappointed for the people that we represent, the lone parents who really believed that this was going to be a monumental moment. Like back in 2015, many of us would have campaigned for same-sex marriage, even so that same-sex couples could get recognition under the Constitution. We were still being excluded, but it was great to see, and progress is progress, and a progressive step. I would have campaigned for same-sex marriage, thinking this is great. And I really expected the people who voted for same-sex marriage to allow same-sex couples have recognition, that they would have supported lone parents and our families. A mother and a child is a family, and to see such a high rejection of our families was very disappointing, and personally felt let down, because I would be an activist in a lot of campaigns and would have got involved in a lot of campaigns and didn't feel the support for lone parents that we should have felt.
Do you accept, though, what our audience were saying was that issue of durable relationship, it just wasn't clear enough?
I think the wording could have been better, absolutely. But I also think it was taken this phrase durable relationship and not putting it in context. It said a family based on durable relationship. It didn't say a durable relationship. And then people were saying things like, oh, well, my barber's a durable relationship. It's not. It was a family social setup with a durable relationship, founded on a durable relationship. And I think using that term durable relationship as if that was the basis of all relationships being taken was wrong. And you cannot have a more durable relationship than a mother and a child, or a parent and a child.
OK, I just want to bring in a couple of our social comments now. I voted yes for the family and care referendums. I believe the outcome was a massive win for misinformation. This is from Francis on WhatsApp. As a daughter of a single mom, I was devastated that the electorate rejected the family amendment. I feel extremely let down by my government and my country. What should have been a positive moment for single-parent families resulted in a slap in the face, says Francis. And Chris on Instagram says, lack of transparency, lack of information, wasting money, not listening to what the people of this country want. I want to bring in Barbara Scully now. Barbara, you're very welcome.
Thanks.
You believe that this is a moment of celebration and pride in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I was a no voter, and I was very clear once I started to look at the amendments that were being put before us on the care issue. I found that, you know, again, not rehashing what we've heard already, but I felt that disability rights were very important, and they were just this idea of the government, you know, striving to support carers. I have worked for the Alzheimer's Society for 10 years back in the 90s. I know the kind of stuff the carers do day in, day out. We grew up with my uncle who had a learning disability, who lived with my grandmother first and then lived with my mother, and we grew up with him. And then when my mother became old, he was lucky enough to get into the care of the HSE. And we knew until he died at 92 that we were very lucky to have got him in there. So I was kind of clear on the care one that it just wasn't good enough. The family one and the durable relationships one gave me an awful lot of difficulty. And with all due respects to Peadar Tobin, I found being in the same camp a bit scratchy and weird because I would have considered myself a liberal. I was a single parent for 10 years in the 1980s. I was well outside the circle of respectability. At that stage, because of the fact that family was based on marriage, I ended up, now this has changed, but I ended up having to adopt my own daughter in order for my husband to be able to adopt her. You know, I was assessed, having done 10 years parenting on my own, for my suitability to be the mother. So, you know, I have huge respect for lone parents. I have huge admiration for what they do. But I felt that this thing about durable relationships, I personally felt, was an absolute insult. A durable relationship to me is like a committed relationship. There's an element of choice in it. You know, this is the person I'm choosing to forge forward in life with, this person here. My relationship with my children, and I was very clear from the minute, long before this referendum ever sailed into view, our family started when I became a mother, with me and my daughter. Husband came after that, 2 more kids came after that. Durable relationships is not something I would describe. And then there's the whole thing of consent. How do you consent to being in a durable relationship? How do you get out of a durable relationship? It was way too fuzzy. But I hate the fact that other single parents now feel very disappointed.
Can I ask you, though, what do you think it says about us? Has it taken the political temperature of the country?
Absolutely,
at this time?
it has. And I think what I was buoyed up by in the result, and I was surprised, I felt the care one wouldn't go through, but I was surprised at the other one. But what I felt is we now have a moment where particularly feminists, and I don't just mean women, because we need men to be feminists as well, can look at this as, I think the Irish electorate is one of the most savvy, politically savvy, educated, intelligent electorates around. And I think we made our own decision on this, and we felt that this just wasn't good enough. It wasn't a rejection of carers and the work they do, or a non-understanding. It certainly wasn't a rejection either of single-parent families or any other type of family, but it wasn't good enough. And I admire the fact that Irish people said, no, you can take this back. This is not good enough at all. And I just hope that a movement builds as a result of this, demanding, because I've spoken and talked about this for over 10 years, until care, and I think they're separate, but I also think that parents have a right to care for their own children at home should they wish to. Until that moves up the political agenda and goes central in our society, women will never achieve equality. And I think that it shows. Somebody mentioned, an echo chamber. What really worries me is, I'm not surprised the government are in an echo chamber, particularly Fine Gael, because they've been there too long. But the other parties really need to look at themselves and see how are they so out of touch with what people are thinking and feeling. Okay. That's scary.
Okay, I want to go out to the wider audience now. And just on that last point you made, that will there be. Do we think that the government, that this has been a watershed moment, as has been described, for the disability sector and for carers? Do anyone here really believe that is where we're at now? Yes, yourself there, just at the back. You, yeah.
Yeah, I think it has been it's an eye-opener for a lot of people, because the government lied to us. They didn't give us the full facts. They didn't release the interdepartmental notes and minutes. They didn't release the Attorney General's letter. The Women's Council lied to us. They said, it's about removing sexist, archaic language from the Constitution.
Okay, I just want to say the Women's Council isn't here, unfortunately, to defend themselves. No, but so they would reject the fact that they lied to anyone.
Well, they said it was about removing sexist language from the Constitution. They didn't do that. There's 6 mentions of women's words in the Constitution. Twice the word women, 2 words her, the word mother, and the word woman. There's over 100 mentions of men to do with property, to ministers, politicians, judges, all he, him, all those types of things. This amendment, if it had went through, would have removed 3 of those mentions of women from the Constitution. It would have removed the word mother. And I don't think the Irish people now are on the alert. They don't trust the government. They don't trust this. This would have done nothing for women, nothing for single parents, and nothing for the disabled.
OK, anybody over here again? Yes, Sinead, I know you tried to get in earlier on.
Yeah, well, just going back to what everyone is saying, and yes, I do respect the Constitution, but I do believe now what's staying in the Constitution is not protecting women at all. It really hasn't protected women through the ages, and it's not going to change anything. To me, that the whole thing was about care within the home. And I think everyone got lost. It wasn't about disability rights. And that is another topic that needs to be brought to the fore, and I'm very much for that as well. But this was about care within the home and all the different types of care within the home, be it a mother, a father, an aunt, a foster carer, a brother, a sister. So care within the home. It was taken.
Can you divorce that from disability rights, though?
I'm not divorcing it from disability rights. What I'm saying is that it was about care within the home. And even if you're caring in the home for a disability person, you're caring in the home for a loved one, you're caring in all different ways within the home. And we lost sight of that. I believed it was a chance. We can look for a perfect wording, we can look for a perfect world. We're not going to get that. But it was a stepping stone to start the debate. I take the one positive note from this, that it is the first time we debated care, and I was delighted for that. Maybe I was shocked in a way that people looked at when people didn't agree with certain things, but I believe that was something good that came from it.
OK, something positive to go. What is the government saying to people now? They have heard them, surely, at this stage. What will be the outcome of this? Will there be positive, practical moves made?
Well, I sincerely hope so. I mean, the last thing we want is to have a divided society on this particular issue. People caring for people with disability, having different views on the constitutional issue, but both being without resources. So clearly, from the government's point of view, I mean, they're going to have to legislate, they're going to have to provide resources to ensure that people have what they need. I mean, rights without resources are of no benefit to people either. So, I mean, the constitutional provision has been rejected. We now have to try and find a way of ensuring the resources are targeted to those that most need them. But I just think that, like, I was involved in a very divisive campaign in the 8th Amendment. Like, the last thing we need is for this to become a very divisive issue with people who are struggling every day trying to get resources from local authorities, from the health, from education, from various government departments. So, I mean, that really is the key issue, to make sure that we can heal quickly and target the resources to those that most need them.
OK, just, well, I've 30 seconds left, just very quickly.
There were so many things that I could say to people who spoke tonight, but I think the point we can take from this is, as Barbara said, there is a political appetite for change. I'm not going to be a revolutionary and call for the downfall of the government, but I do think TDs, ministers, people in government should go away and really think about what Ireland wants, because, like myself, a yes/no voter, for the reason that Aisling and Marie outlined, I do think I am progressive. I do think the majority of Ireland is progressive, and we want change, and that's what needs to happen now over anything else.
OK, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Thank you to all my audience. That's all from the Upfront team tonight. Thanks to all my guests, and to you, as I say, the audience here and at home. If you want to join our studio audience, go to rt.ie/upfront. But for now, thank you and good night.